Hello and welcome back to another video. Today here again on Forza Horizon 5 to take a look at another brand new addition to the Forza series, which is this Mazda MX-5 RF. To unlock this new addition to the series, all you have to do is complete 20 points of this week's festival playlist, which is the winter season, which I've done by completing the trial, seasonal playground games, the photo challenge, the collectibles, and the 4 monthly rivals at the beginning of the series. To be honest, I wasn't actually terribly excited to unlock this little Mazda MX-5, as it's incredibly similar to the 2016 model we already have in-game, but is a Targa instead of a full convertible like that is. Presumably then, RF is actually short for roof. And a hardtop folding roof on an MX-5 kind of defeats the point of it. I suppose you could argue that this model looks better, but this folding roof does also mean the RF is about 50 kilos heavier than the 2016 soft-top car. However, despite sharing that car's 2-litre engine, there have been some improvements since then. Power in this one is up from 155 brake horsepower to 181 brake horsepower, giving the RF an overall rating in B-Class of 626, 6 higher than that 2016 model. Forza have at least given this folding hardtop a complete animation for going up and down, not just in Forza Vista, but in free roam too, as to be honest I would expect from any new addition to the game. Although it does still beg the question, why can we still only put the roof up and down in Forza Vista on so many other cars in the game? Surely if we can do it in Forza Vista we can do it in free roam as well. This includes the slightly older MX-5 with the folding hardtop. Why can't we put the roof up and down in free roam on those if we can do it in Forza Vista? Anyway, in terms of manufacturer colours, it is unfortunately slightly disappointing. There are quite a few of them, but most of them are quite boring. I'd quite like the blue that we receive the car in, but all of the others seem to be blacks, greys, whites, and silvers, apart from this rather nice red, and let's not talk about that one at all. So I think I'm going to have to be rather boring and go for red on my MX-5. Luckily though, despite there not being inspiring colours, there are many further customization options. We head straight over to the conversion tab. There is indeed a body kit. We can rocket bunnyify the MX-5. We can of course also turbocharge it, or fit 2 options of supercharger, or all-wheel drive convert it. I'm not going to do any of those. There are also several engine swaps, an inline 6, a V8, a quad rotor, a racing 3-litre inline 6 turbo, and an inline 4 turbo rally. So as I've gone pretty insane with the body kit, I'm going to throw that in for now, because quad rotor is life. Then we have some further customization. If you didn't put the wide body on, you can fit Forza front aero, but given I have, we have the option of or AP performance wing, or we can go with rocket bunny to match the kit, which I will do. And yes, the roof does just about open underneath that wing. I'll show you that in a second. Apart from that, I feel like we maybe need to do some wider tyre widths to fill out the arches a bit. No track width options because I've put the body kit on, I think. And in a second I'll come back and put some wheels on to fit the body kit a bit better. We can also upgrade our clutch, transmission, driveline, and differential, of course. So I will do that while I'm here. We can give it race brakes and race suspension. All the suspension options are here. Drift, off-road, sport, and race, which is what I'm going to go with this kit. We've of course got front and rear anti-roll bars, which I'm going to put on. Roll cage, which I won't because, well, I'm trying to make a road car, although I've gone a bit insane with it. And full weight reduction brings weight down to 1,012 kilos, so it's still just over a ton, although potentially with the body kit removed it would be under. So either way, it's still reasonably light with full weight reduction, as you might expect. And then we've also got our engine upgrades, but because I put a quad rotor in, all we can do is that. But that does give it 718 horsepower, so I think yes. I have also very quickly just found the first set of wheels that I think looks vaguely okay on it. just to fit with the body kit and modifiedness of the rest of the car, because standard wheels with a wide body and wing looked a little bit odd, so there we go. So if you watch the roof very carefully as it goes down, it doesn't quite hit those reinforcing cables and folds just underneath the wing, which is the same for the APR Performance one as well. But that kind of makes sense because these are options for this car in reality too. I definitely remembered to upgrade the tyre compound as well as the tyre width. I think actually the red stripe goes very well. Let's do that. So the MX-5 is now into S1 class, well, quite substantially. It's 880 rated now, and I think it actually looks surprisingly, well, insane. I'm not going to say good. I like how mad it is, but it's not a pretty thing, is it? It's incredible. And listen to it. It's an absolutely madly modified thing just to mess about with. This is absolutely fantastic. I've come here to my oval track that I built because there's lots of straight lines and not a lot to hit. So we can give it a bit of a speed test. I'm doing 180 in an MX-5. That's what we want. I don't think it'll do much more than that, to be honest. Unless I possibly tune the gears. But what a mad, mad thing. Yes, it may be very similar to an MX-5 we have in-game already, and I may think that it's quite boring, but it's not anymore, and I love that there's at least an option to do this, and that more and more of the new cars that they add do actually have modification, like the VW did last week, so I can't wait to see what the Volkswagen thing has in store for us. That's going to be absolutely fantastic. I imagine this rotary engine, wow, that was a downshift, uses a lot of fuel though, so I think we may need to go and visit the fuel station. After much messing about with that slightly mad, but kind of fun set of upgrades, I then went in search of a much more sensible B-Class purist tune. I ended up applying a K1Z Bard tune with 230 brake horsepower and weight all the way down to 934 kilos, so as I expected, sub 1 ton is possible without the addition of the wide body. With this tune applied, I once again headed into Horizon Open, joining for the final race of an adventure at the Vulcan Sprint, where I very quickly found myself in the lead and stayed there for a relatively uninteresting run up the volcano with the Mazda, winning by a fairly significant margin at the end. So it was on to a full set of 3 races next. For the first race at the Lanurus Sprint though, only one other person joined. They then decided to drive into a wall instead of taking one of the corners, and promptly left. This of course meant the Mazda won by default. So far it was 2 victories in 2 races then. Sort of. Next up was the Linnea Costera Sprint, and 2 more racers had decided to join. They both decided to go straight on into the wall on the first right-hander though, so I was once again in the lead of another race, where I stayed until the end. And finally we went to the Arch of Moulahay circuit, which for some reason is still only 2 laps long. Please fix that, Forza. Anyway, here both other drivers immediately left the race, again giving the Mazda a win by default. So then, the little MX-5 had technically won all 4 races it took part in. However, none of them were exactly against much competition, and half of them were literally against no competition at all. It's hard to say then if it's actually any good or not, although overall the car did feel very nice to drive and seemed relatively good, so I think I will be keeping the tune on this thing at least for a little while. And that is going to do it for today's video, taking a very first look at the brand new Mazda MX-5 RF here in Forza Horizon 5. So yes, going into this, I wasn't terribly excited for this. I thought it was a bit too similar to the MX-5 we already have, and although slightly heavier than that car, it is significantly more powerful, which you do notice from standard, has some incredibly mad engine swaps and a wide body, as well as some ridiculous wings, and is pretty decent in B-Class, it would seem, although that potentially needs some more testing. So, despite being not very excited about this thing before I unlocked it, I'm now kind of considering looking out for a second one on the auction house, so I can have one insane quad-rotor wide-body version and one B-Class version for racing, so I may potentially look out for another one of these. As ever though, do let me know your thoughts on this brand new addition to the Forza series, but for today's video that is going to be all, so thank you very much for watching, and I'll be back with the next one very soon.